My pastor told me that, Roland, at your age, you need to be thinking more about the hereafter. I said, Pastor, I think about the hereafter all the time. I said, just yesterday, Molly asked me to go in the other room and get her hairbrush. So I went into the other room, and by the time I got there, I said, what am I hereafter? I'm sure in talking about all the vitamins, you all have heard or maybe even take. How many know about ginkgo biloba? Well, at my age, I take ginkgo Viagra. It helps you remember what sex was like. Now, I do want to say to you as your speaker today that every speaker does 3 talks. The one they plan, the one they actually give, and then the one they wish they had given. To reassure you, I will not speak for as long as it may seem. And it is possible to forgive someone a great deal if he makes them laugh. So I'm going to try to do that today. Now, on Thursday night when I spoke to your leaders, I gave them a test because I had heard this is such a sharp group of people, and I'm a former professor, so I can give a test anytime I want to. So I'm going to give you a couple of tests here, a couple of questions to test your sharpness. Can you name 2 days that begin with T? T. Well, most people would say Tuesday and Thursday, right? Actually, today and tomorrow would do well, too. Now, back in ancient Greece, Aristotle spoke about communication, and he said back in those days there was no TV or radio or texting or anything like that. There was simply public speaking. They called it rhetoric. And Aristotle said that there are 3 elements to rhetoric. 1, the content, the ideas that are being communicated. 2, you, the audience. And 3, the speaker. Now here's your test question. Of those 3 things, the content, the audience, and the speaker, which did Aristotle think was most important? Can you match wits with Aristotle and come up with the right answer out of those 3? Which is most important? How many people say that the speaker is most important? Oh, jeez. Man, I came all the way from South Carolina. Oh, jeez. How many say the content is most important? A few more. How many say la audience is most important? You are correct. Because it doesn't matter what the speaker says or how he says it, if you don't get it and you don't receive it, you don't get the communication, doesn't matter. It's no good. Well, let me get down to serious stuff here. Spoke to the leaders on Thursday night, and interestingly enough, I gave them two rules for success. And the first rule was, don't tell people everything you know. And then I went on to other things. And nobody ever asked, well, what's number 2? But if you understand number 1, there is no number 2, right? But we don't do that in the business. We share and communicate, and we want you to know what we know. And there are no secrets. It's an open deal. I was introduced, I'm a former professor. And I have a lot of information for you today So I hope you are not just sitting there like wooden Indians, but you are planning to take notes. And people that take notes understand that they're going to be up here someday. If you're not taking notes, this is just entertainment. Now, I'm sure that you are familiar with the Jaeger 8-step pattern. I'm going to talk to you today about a success system. And the 8-step pattern is a success system. And of course, the TL14 has the 8-step pattern in it, and I'm not going to go through the 8-step pattern for time's sake, but this is one of the most valuable tools that you can get. Now, the thing about the 8-step pattern is that it's just like a recipe in making a cake. You have to have all of the parts. If you leave out some of the parts, it just doesn't work. The cake doesn't taste very good. And so to illustrate that, I want to tell you about a story from World War II. In World War II, the aviators would battle back and forth, the Germans and the British, and a British pilot shot down a German in his Messerschmitt, and he crash landed in a field in southern England. And the British pilot was stationed nearby, so he tracked down this man that he had shot down and heard he was in the hospital and went to visit him. Back in those early days of the war, it was a carryover from World War I when the aviators were very chivalrous. They were knights in the sky. And so when the British pilot went to see the German aviator, he walked in the room and saw that he was really banged up, really in bad shape. And they got talking. And as they talked, they built a little bit of a relationship, built a friendship. And the German aviator said, as the British pilot was about to leave, he said, "I guess you noticed that they have amputated my left arm. And I'd like to ask you a favor, if you would, please." Said, "The next time you're flying over Germany, I would like you to take my left arm and drop it over the fatherland." Well, the British pilot thought this was sort of an odd request, but he wanted to be helpful, and so he said he'd do that. So when he got back from this flight and dropping the arm over the fatherland, he came to see the pilot again, and this time he noticed that the German pilot had lost his right arm too. And as they talked again, the German requested that he would take his right arm and drop it over the fatherland, which the British pilot did. Came back to see him for a third time, and as they talked, the British pilot noticed that the German was missing his left leg. And when the German asked, "Will you take my left leg and drop it over the fatherland?" the British pilot said, "I say, old boy, you're not trying to escape, are you?" But what we repeat in the business with people, you do it all the time. We're doing three things. We're building a relationship, we're building a dream, and we're giving them just enough information to take the next step. And you do that over and over and over, and only the names and faces change. Now, of those three things, which is the most important? Building a relationship is the most important thing of those three things. So you want to work hard to do that. Okay, now when I started in the business, a guy named Bill Britt, who was very successful, said the system is very simple. Number one, get started. Number two, don't stop. That was his system for being successful in the business. And in the business, just like the 8-step pattern, the success formula that I'm going to show you, you need all the parts. So let me put this up here, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, first of all, in our example here, we operate in a system where we're in a free enterprise system because we're in a free country that gives us that opportunity. But within the free enterprise system, there are 3 points to a triangle. Self, that's you, are part of that. You're one part. The Amway Corporation is a part. And the team, the Jaeger team with the business system, internet, Jaeger system, is also a part of that triangle. And to begin our formula, I want to begin where Dexter always begins, and that's with the dream. And it's not what the dream is, it's what the dream does to you. So the first part of our formula is the why. That's your reason, that's your mission, that's your assignment in this business. And as Dexter always says, you can complete this. When the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. That's exactly right. And when the dream is big enough, that's the thing that overcomes any fear that you may have in picking up the telephone or talking to people about the business. So one of the things that you learn to do to succeed in the business is you learn to overcome your fear. And you gain experience that will overcome it. You gain confidence that will overcome it. And to illustrate fear, I want to talk to you about a pharmacist that I know. And in his drugstore, one morning, he had to take off and run some errands. So he told this high school assistant that came in on Saturday morning to mind the store, that he would be back in an hour or so, and to take care of things while he was gone. So the pharmacist went and did his errands, and when he got back, he came in the door and he looked over there, and here was some guy against the wall, just afraid to move. I mean, he was literally scared to death. And the pharmacist went up to the kid that was tending the store. He said, "Hey, what's the story with this guy over there? He looks scared to death." He said, "Well, he came in here and he was looking for some cough medicine. And, you know, I'm new. I couldn't find a cough medicine, so I gave him a laxative." The pharmacist said, you dumb kid, you know, the laxative won't stop a cough. He said, "Yes, it will, boss. You look at him. He's afraid to cough." Now, if you have a why, if your why is strong enough, you will figure out the how part. And action cures fear. So, let me put how. And that's the details of the business, the activity loop: contacting, inviting, showing a plan, following up, getting people started. Product knowledge, of course, you start by trying the products, using the products, then you specialize in certain things. And when I got started in the business, I said, "Listen, I'm not a salesman. I don't know whether I can do this thing." I said, "I'm a teacher." He says, "Well, this dentist that showed me the plan said, well, as a teacher, don't you sell ideas to kids?" I said, "Oh, well, yeah, sure." I said, "Well, as a teacher, don't you sell yourself to the parents?" "Well, yeah." And don't you sell yourself to the administration?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, then you're a salesman." I said, "Oh, okay." He gave me the reassurance that I needed to do something that I didn't want to do. And of course, practice makes perfect, even when you're doing something you don't necessarily want to do. And do you remember your first kiss? Well, my first kiss was in kindergarten. And I kissed a girl named Margie Anderson who lived up the street from me. And I thought I would grow up to marry Margie Anderson. That I sealed the deal with a kiss. But that first kiss, while it was exciting, it was more like two chickens pecking at each other. It was quick and mostly hit the teeth. It was exciting, but I can't say it was satisfying. So, but eventually kissing got pretty good when you practiced enough. So you have to get better at things. Dexter says you get older automatically, but you have to work at getting better. Let me go to the next thing. And even though I got a D in algebra, I knew that the numbers above the line were the numerator, and the numbers below the line were the denominator. So our denominator here in this business is a positive mental attitude. You have to believe in the business. Napoleon Hill, his success formula was C plus B equals A, which is conceive, believe, and achieve. What you conceive in your mind and believe in your heart, you will achieve in reality. I always said that attitude is everything. John Maxwell corrected me. He said that attitude isn't everything because it can't overcome talent. But attitude is the difference maker. It makes the difference in so many things. Makes the difference between winners and whiners. Makes the difference between losers who magnify problems and leaders who minimize problems. I want to show you about points A, B, and C. This is a continuum that you will face many times in the business. And we're going to say that point A represents a point of need in somebody's life. We'll say that point B represents when they get their head screwed on right with a positive mental attitude. And we'll let point C represent various points of achievement in the business. Now, as you go to show the plan to people, you don't know what point they may be. So, if you show the plan to somebody before they get to that point of need, and you show a terrific plan, your plan is just dynamite. What's going to be the result of your great plan? Nothing, right? Because they're not ready. They haven't gotten to that point. So you don't take it personally. That's just the way it is. It's not on you, it's on them. Now, what if they get past point A, where I was ready. Had passed that point of need. Knew that I needed to do something more or something different. What's going to be the result of your plan? And it doesn't even matter whether you show a great plan or not. Even if you show a mediocre or a lousy plan, if they're at that point, probably what's going to happen? They're probably going to get in the business, right? What do you think they're going to do with the business since they have not yet arrived at point B? You think they're going to be a whirlwind? They're going to be a real whiz-bang? Probably not. Because they have to make the transition from point A to point B. They have to get their head screwed on right. They have to develop that positive mental attitude before they can really move on with the business. So that's where the books and the audios and the functions and the associations come in to change the way people think. Because if people will change the way they think, they will change the way they act. And if they change the way they act, they will change the way they live. You will be the same person in 5 years, except for the books you read, the audios you listen to, and the people you associate with. That's where this business comes in with a real serendipity that most people don't expect. And once a person reaches that point of a positive mental attitude, it's just a question of time until they begin achieving in this business. The combination of conviction and enthusiasm is the thing that bonds you and enables you to project this business to other people successfully. Dexter once says, only take the advice from those who stand to benefit from your success. Hope you wrote that down. That's a good one. Only take the advice of those that stand to benefit from your success. And when you do that and you associate in the business, you develop that confidence and that posture that's so important to be able to project to other people, especially if you get negatives. To illustrate posture, let me tell you about these two guys that were out walking their dog. And they had a long walk with their two dogs. They're getting tired and hungry and thirsty. And they see this very nice, posh restaurant up front. The one guy says to the other one, let's go in the restaurant and eat. I'm hungry. The other one says, yeah, I'm hungry too. We got these dogs. Le chien, right? Say, we can't go in there with these dogs. You say, well, you watch me, do what I do, and we'll get in. So he puts on dark glasses, and he pretends to be blind, and he walks up to the restaurant door and says, I want to come in the restaurant. The doorman says, you can't come in here with that dog. Guy says, this is my seeing eye dog. Doorman says, a Doberman? Says, yeah, Dobermans are really smart. They're using them for seeing eye dogs all the time. Says, okay, go ahead. Well, the other guy walks up to the door 5 minutes later. Says, I want to go in the restaurant. Doorman says, you can't come in here with that dog. Says, this is my seeing eye dog. Doorman says, a Chihuahua? The guy says, you mean they gave me a Chihuahua? That's posture. Bill Curry, who was the coach at Alabama, he was also an all-pro center on the champion Green Bay Packers when they won the NFL. He said this, as you go through life, either you will pay the price of discipline now, or you will pay the price of regret later. Oh, that's a powerful statement. I've heard it said a little bit differently. The price of success is paid early in life. The price of failure is paid late in life. Let's move on to the next part of our formula, which is action. You have to do something in this business. Conrad Hilton once said that success seems to be connected with action. Successful people keep moving. They make mistakes, but they don't quit. And that's a real key to success. You have to do something. Confucius said, "Man who stand on hillside with mouth open, wait for a long time before roast duck fly in." If you want to roast duck, you got to get out in the blind, and when it's cold and wet, and you have to shoot the duck, and your dog goes and fetches the duck. It's a process. When I was young, my parents had sailors in from the Philadelphia Navy Yard during World War II. They were young sailors in their 20s. Many of them I knew would not come back from the war. They would be torpedoed. And I thought at that time, Lord, If I can only live till 80, that would be great. By the time I got to 79, I said, Lord, can I renegotiate the deal? And right now I'm going for 100, So there's a matter of urgency to this business because none of us know how long we're going to be around. And the older you get, some of you that may be older, begin to understand that time accelerates. The older you get, the faster it seems to go by. And so there's an urgency to getting this business done. Fast is easier than slow. Slow in this business is like a painful hobby. You don't want to do it slow. As you go through life, be more bold in what you attempt, and be urgent about what you do. To illustrate urgency, a doctor was phoning his patient. He said, I got your test results back. I have some bad news and worse news. And the bad news is you have 24 hours to live. The shocked patient says, wow, that really is bad news. What could be worse news? Doctor says, I've been trying to get you since yesterday. Dexter always says, get busy now, don't wait. He said, don't slow down until you're an emerald. Don't rest until you're a diamond. You have to force yourself to do things that you don't want to do. You have to be active and busy in the business. The more you put into it, the more likely you're going to get out of it. And Antony and Cleopatra many years ago were on their barge in the Nile River. And the barge at that time was rowed by oarsmen who were slaves. And the master of the slaves had a drum beat, and he would pound the drum depending on how fast they were supposed to row the boat. And he came to them and said, I have good news and bad news. He says, the good news is that Antony and Cleopatra want to retire to the boudoir and make love for an hour or so. So you all can relax on the oars and we'll just float with the current. He said, well, what's the bad news? Master said, after they finish, they want to go water skiing. There's a 4-step ramp up in getting started with this business that I want to illustrate to you. And I'll illustrate it with a story. We got into business in September, October, November, December. And when we got in the business, we did something. We were busy. We got up every day and said, another day in which to excel. What can we do today to advance our business? And so in September, we had a lot of action. We were busy. We had a business support team that came and helped us and showed the plan for us. And as a result of that action in September, a lot of interest came and a lot of people got in the business, so that our numbers began to increase. People got in the business, they started buying the products, they started listening to CDs, good things happening. And as a result of the action in November and putting people in the business in October, we began to see some volume in November. So things were picking up speed, momentum was building. And then along came Thanksgiving, holidays, bowl games on football, Christmas time, Christmas shopping, New Year's, and it was kind of a distracting time, but based on the action in September and the numbers increase and the volume, the money comes in a little bit later, the organizational money. So you have to understand that progression. We sponsored this couple who were Molly's college roommates, Sonny and Leanne. And he owned some grocery stores. So for him, at the end of each day, he knew exactly where he was. But in this business, we had all these meetings for Sonny, got good results, but he didn't see any money. He was used to immediate money and not delayed money. So even though these numbers came in, without saying anything to us, and we were stupid because we didn't know all the parts of the business yet. We didn't know that we should have done the follow-up ourselves. But when the holidays came, Sonny had kind of dropped by the wayside and wasn't doing anything, and the people saw that and they sort of stopped doing things. And then in December, right before Christmas, Sonny gets a check, a refund check. He says, oh my goodness, this business works after all. So he got on the phone and he called up all these people that had died with him and said, oh man, this really works. Oh, Sonny, listen, it's Christmas time. We're shopping. We got parties to go to. The bowl games are coming up. Don't worry about it. And so we lost that group because we were dumb and didn't know what to do, and we didn't understand this sequence. So that's why I share it with you. Now, if you can't triumph with talent, then excel with effort. Not everybody's got the talent. We didn't think we could do this business. We weren't a blabbermouth, although you might think so now. But success is built on inconvenience. Dexter said many times. There's that 4-letter word, work. I said that to somebody once. He said, oh, I knew there was a catch to this thing. But happiness is a full calendar. Happiness is being busy. And success, Dexter says, is just a decision away. So there are many things that will power your action. I'm just going to name a few of them because time is getting short here. But I believe these are the things that will empower everything that you do. Prayer, I believe in prayer. Belief is important, that you believe in what you're doing, that you believe in yourself, you believe in your team. That you have integrity in everything that you do. That will power all your actions. Character is important. Character is like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't. You either have character or you don't have it. There's no halfway to it. And of course, character builds your reputation. Now, reputation is what others think of you. Your character is what you really are. Fame is what you have taken. Character is what you give. Everybody needs to think about the legacy that you're going to leave behind. I think more about that as I get older. It's natural. I've gone to a lot of funerals over the last few years. A lot of friends have already passed away. Molly and I have been in very good health, so we've gone to other people's funerals. Matter of fact, Yogi Berra, you know who Yogi Berra is? Well, Yogi was a great philosopher. He said you've got to go to other people's funerals if you expect them to come to yours. There were 3 guys that went to somebody's funeral, one of their friends, and they're passing the open casket. And they look down at their old friend and say to each other, you know, what would you want people to say about you when they walk by the casket and look at you lying there? What do you want people to say? Well, the first one was a teacher. He said, I hope that some of my students come by and say, boy, he was a great teacher. I learned a lot. Second guy was an artist. Said, I hope that my pictures someday hang in the Louvre in Paris. Turned to the third guy and said, well, what do you want people to say? I think I'd like them to say, look, he's moving. Loyalty is very important. We are a family. Dexter values loyalty. Edification. There's nobody that's more interested in your success than your business support team. Be enthusiastic in all your actions. Have some common sense. Be flexible. Be accommodating with people. Have a sense of responsibility. When it comes to a function, come early and stay late, and be ready to help out. Commitment is so important in this business. A lot of people want a balanced life. But you know, to get a balanced life, you have to get it out of balance for a while to be able to focus, to give priorities to something. Dexter says people don't have a time problem, they don't have a money problem. What they've got is a priority problem. Be willing to be inconvenienced. Communicate with people. This is a people business, so communication is very important. I tell people all the time, you need to confront with people, not in an ugly way. You need to communicate with them, and you need to clarify so that you both understand what's going on. And of course, a real leader is a promoter and understands teamwork. Those will all empower what you do. This is a business that's an inch by inch business. Inch by inch, anything's a cinch. And if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. So you have to have some clear set goals. And there are differences between dreams and goals. Dreams are a kind of a pie in the sky that maybe someday you'll have them. Goals they are specific, they're not vague. There's a time period by which you will accomplish a goal, and there is a plan of action to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Those are the three differences between a dream and a goal. I knew about this one guy that was a real fat fellow, and he had a terrible time getting dates. So he went to see Dr. Jackson, the psychologist. He said, Doc, can you do anything for me? He said, girls won't have anything to do with me, and I'm just frustrated. And Doc says, sure, I got a plan for that. I've worked it many times. He said, I'll tell you what you do. Tuesday morning, I want you ready at 8 o'clock, and we'll begin the plan. You just be ready at 8 o'clock. Okay? He had faith. 8 o'clock, there's a knock on his door. He opens the door, and here is this gorgeous girl standing there. I mean, she is beautiful. She says to him, Dr. Jackson sent me. He said, if you can catch me, you can have me. And she started running. And he started to run after her, but because he was a big fat guy, I mean, he got to the end of the driveway and he was all tired out. Next morning, 8 o'clock, there she is again. He opens the door. Dr. Jackson sent me. He said, you can have me if you can catch me. You know, off she went again. This went on for 6 months. Man, he's getting good. He's trimming down. He's losing weight. Calls up Dr. Jackson. Says, Doc, I've lost 40 pounds. He said, I almost caught her this morning, and tomorrow morning I'm going to get her. Good. Next morning, goes to the door. He's ready. Man, he's got his sneakers on and his shorts and his city shirt, and he's ready to go. He opens the door, and there's a fat girl standing there. She says, Dr. Jackson sent me. He said if I could catch you, I could have you. Inch by inch, anything's a cinch. And if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. Okay, let me talk about the next item, which is numbers. We're in the numbers racket, not gambling. We're just dealing with numbers. One of the numbers you need to think about are what we call bits, B-I-T-S in English, butts in the seats, numbers that a function. And of course, numbers in the system. And 100 times 0 is still 0, isn't it? So it's getting people involved. The eagle structure is very helpful in doing that in terms of width and depth. The eagle, double eagle, ultimate eagle. Most dominant number is the STP number, the number of plans that you show. I don't know whether you had heard this yet, but in going diamond, we went diamond in 42 months. And in those 42 months, I showed 1,193 plans. I'm not talking about short plan, I'm talking about a full-blown plan. 5 and 6 nights a week, Dexter talks about. Lots of times I did 2 in a night. Sometimes I did 4 on Saturday. There used to be a saying, once a day with Rich and Jay, twice a night with Nutrilite. Now we're talking about showing a plan, guys, not that other stuff you're thinking about. My daughter went to see a friend in a maternity ward, and across the hall from her friend was a lady that just had her 3rd set of twins. And Carolyn was out in the hall when an intern came and visited that woman. And he's trying to be nice and make a friendly talk, bedside manner, and so on. And one of the things he said to her, he said, gee, do you always get twins? And the lady replied, no, most of the time we don't get anything. If I have to explain that to you, you're really in bad shape. Okay. PV ramp up as part of the numbers. Fast track, change your buying habits, shop in your own store. Instead of going to the store and paying retail, you buy from yourself. You teach a bunch of other people to do the same and sell whatever they want to sell, a little bit or a lot. And numbers to PV. And when you put all that together, that equals success. So success is time and money and lifestyle. And let me wrap up with these things. When you draw the plan, you put you and you draw a circle around it, you're in the middle of that plan. So take ownership of your business. Take charge of your business. If it is to be, it is up to me, you say. We are all given the freedom of choice. We can choose to namby-pamby muddle along with this business, or we can take charge and do something with it. We're given the freedom of choice. On a plane flying to one of the functions not long ago, Molly and I sat behind 2 men. The man on the right was a minister, very straight-laced kind of guy, and sitting right next to him in front of me was a rock star with tattoos and long hair and the typical rock star image. And when the stewardess came around, she had a tray of drinks. She said, what would you like to have? We have champagne, we have beer, we have wine, we have all different assortments of alcoholic drinks. What would you like? The rock star says, I believe I'll have some whiskey. So he took the whiskey and she turned to the minister, said, and what would you like to have as a drink? And he said, I would rather be ravished by a sex-starved woman than have alcohol pass my lips. The rock star said, put the whiskey back and said, I didn't know we had that choice. Choose to change your thinking. Success is just a decision away. This business works. You can do it, and it's worth it. Go for it. You have the power to change your life, and this business is a vehicle that can get you from where you are to where you want to be. And I'll see you tonight.